we have discussed about we have a backup copies, and I've showed you actually how the backup copy is presented on Actifio GUI and how we are going to use this Actifio backup copies. And you can select the backup copy and right click and mount it. And we do offer a mount which is instantly mounts the using the backup image. We instantly mount the database onto the target host, right? Which is virtually we are actually moving the data and we are actually creating the cloned copy. So when I say virtual, we are not physically moving the data, we are actually virtually presenting the data, like we are actually presenting the drive onto the target host and using this target host virtual drive, and you can able to bring up the database, right? Using, so Actifio, when performing this cloned operations, when I say like cloned or instant recovery or instant clone operation, and you don't need to do a restore operation. You can completely eliminate your restore operations. If you remember, so I think I bolded my statements in a previous slides. And Actifio every day it creates the moment it completes everything on the database server, the activities, and it's going to create a full point in time synthesized image, backup image on the appliance side, right? It is kind of every day it is a full backup image, right? And you can use this image and creating your number of virtual copies, and instantly we recover the data and we present the databases on the target host. And we'll see in the shortly actually how we are actually presenting. I'm just trying to explain actually using this backup image, how Actifio is instantly creating mounting operations and eliminating unnecessary data movement and speeding, and we are actually speeding the access of cloning, providing the cloned copies, right? Because we are completely eliminating the 98% slow step, which is a restore step, where we are going to spend 90 or 95% time out of the complete clone time. So we are completely eliminating that, right? And when you are presenting the instant mount copy or instant clone copy on the target host, which is exactly you feel the same experience. How do you work with a normal traditional database? You can perform all your DML operations, you can perform all your DDL operations, and from an end user point of view, and who is actually managing Actifio, apart from that, nobody knows actually. So it exactly feels like the same similar database, right? It is nowhere actually, there is no difference. Only we are virtually we are actually presenting a virtual copy onto the target host. So you feel the same experience on the target host when you're actually using this database. Okay, and now we'll understand a little more actually. So we have discussed about instant. Now we'll see actually how do you deal the data corruption issues, and how do you deal your restore and recover data file or table space issues. Okay, and in this explanation we'll try to understand more about the instant recoveries. And if you remember, I think I explained in the previous slide, so using the backup image and using this complete GUI feature, and you can instantly create a mount copy or cloned copy onto the target database server on the same where the source was running. You can select any of the host and you can create this instant clone, right? So when you are actually creating this instant clone, Actifio is also offering a roll forward facility. It's not simply just creating using a backup image and creating a clone. And you have a wonderful option, and you can choose your roll forward time, and using this, and whatever the SLA policy, if you remember, I think I've explained SLA RPO policy, where you can utilize and run your archeolog backups, and you can roll forward using the additional archeologs, and you can recover your database on the instantly. You can clone your database on the target host using this additional recently generated archeologs as well, right? So these can be mounted on any Oracle server. The only prerequisite on the source and target database server versions and the OS so must be equal to run a smooth instant clone operation, right? So as part of this instant clone, Actifio offers two types of clonings, right? Two types of mounts. One is standard mount and another one is application aware mount. Let's see what is standard mount. As part of standard mount, what Actifio is offering on the target host. So as part of standard mount, Actifio creates the all artifacts drive onto the target host. So when I say all artifacts, since I think most of you guys are DBAs, and you must be, I think, aware of what are the things we need to create a clone environment, right? We need database backups, we need any archeolog backups, we need control file backups, we need server parameter file or P file, right? So these all are four, we call it as a pack, which are artifacts to create any cloned environment, even in a traditional method. So all these four artifacts we are going to mount as part of standard mount onto the target host. And in a standard mount, we are not actually bringing up the database automatically, but we are presenting all the required artifacts for a cloning activities onto the target host, right? So, and requires a manual intervention to bring up the database. So Actifio offers, as I explained, two mounts and standard mount and what application aware mount. I'm just recollecting standard mounts. Like we are actually mounting the required artifacts onto the target host where you wanted to perform the mount, and we are just mounting the required artifacts. And using that, a manual intervention is required to bring up the database. And just pause here and let's see it, and we'll come back to this and why. What is the use of this? Why you need manual intervention? Okay, let's discuss about and let's see the screen actually. So you select out of all backup copies, you select the image and do the mount operation, and a mount screen appears here. You just need to enter a couple of values like label, which is a text, and on the which host you wanted to mount this image, and what is the mount point you wanted to select on the target host, which is optional. And if you are not passing this mount point, Actifio will create a default mount point. You don't need to worry about. And you click this mount, and automatically you can see on the target host, after a minute or 2 minutes, you can see all these artifacts are going to create as a form of drive. If it is a file system database on the target, it is going to create a file system mount point and keeps all the data files, archival backups, SP file backup, or control file backup. If it is a ASM disk group, means ASM is running on the target host, it is going to mount a ASM disk group on the target host and keeps all the required artifacts. And let us see what is Appaware mount, and we'll answer the table recovery question. So this Appaware mount, which allow you to quickly bring a database online, right? So when you're performing a standard mount, we are actually mounting required artifacts on the target host where you want to perform, where we want to create a cloned copy. But we are not bringing up the database online. Through application aware mount, you can achieve this functionality. You can bring up the database online. This is completely automated. Like you just need to use the GUI and enter some values and click next and submit and wait for a couple more minutes, and you can see your virtual cloning irrespective of your source image size, right? And let us see how it is actually. And this is an Actifio screen, and imagine that you are selecting this image and you're running a mount, and a mount screen appears, and you will enter some values here, and that, see, if it is a, for example, if it is a data this ASM environment, you just give a data ASM disk group name if you want to specify it, or else you can ignore it and we create a default ASM disk group name. So, and you can enter a couple of values here which I'm highlighting, and you just press, instead of mount, you just press Appaware mount, and it is going to display another screen which is mount options, right? And what is the database name you wanted to give for this mount, right? Say for example, demo database. And what is the username owning this Oracle software on the target host where you are performing this cloning? And what is the Oracle home directory and TNS admin paths you wanted to use on the target host? And this is the reason you might be having multiple Oracle homes running on the same system on the target host, right? It is not common that, and many systems might be having multiple, one is 11G home you can have, and 12C release 2 home you can have, but you wanted to create this cloned copy on 12C release 2 home, and you select that home and the TNS admin path, and you can enter all these values, and because these all are optional, which are not marked with red, and all these are optional. And you can even define your SGA size or memory market size or redo size or FREA size, DB recovery file list, and how much you want to keep share pool size, and couple more options you can use as a just GUI, and you click the next button and the mount is going to complete, and you can see a database is running on the target host. This is completely automated, just only a few clicks away from that, and you just need to submit only the required things, and you need to enter your database name and couple more things and submit, and just take a break 15-20 minutes. You can come back and see your database will be up and running. This is, I'm talking about even your database size is, say for example, 10 terabyte or 20 terabyte. Now, quickly, I think just at a glance, let's compare actually the two mounts actually, which I've explained. One is a standard mount and one is Appaware mount. How do you utilize this actually? What are the uses basically? And standard mount, as you all know, we are just mounting all the required artifacts on the target host. And what is the reason this? We are only mounting this standard mount. We are not actually bringing up the database like application aware mount. Because say, for example, on your source side, one data file got corrupted, or maybe one table space got corrupted, right? So in this case, you just need to do a standard mount. It will complete in 2 minutes, and catalog those standard mounts. And we will have enough runbooks, and we'll actually provide along with the product, and you can have a nice documentation about performing all these scenarios actually. So you can you can do a standard mount, you will get all the artifacts on your source, and now you take and you can recover whatever the data file got corrupted or whatever the table space has been corrupted, and you can use these backup copies and catalog it and run restore and recovery, and it is done. Again, you don't need to spend a lot of time on again searching your backup copies and bringing from tapes or all, right? You can completely avoid. Instantly you can do this. You can utilize this instant scalable recovery options, just doing a mount option, a normal standard mount option, or maybe application aware mount option. So application aware mount, right? So one is, if you want to quickly create a cloned environment, go with application aware mount, right? You don't have to anything require like table spaces or data files. Then application aware mount, you just click it and select options and just submit it, and it will create a cloned copy. If you want to create a quick and developers coming and I want to test something, it is a serious issue on the production, and quickly you can create a cloned copy and give it to him. It takes hardly, I think, 15-20 minutes. It's based on your available arclex, may take little more, but it takes just generally normal time unless you have a more archeologs to recover, right? So, and you can, and another thing, you can use this Appaware mounts when you're actually, we are going to discuss in the next slide. So you can able to automate this cloning process. So in that automation, you can use this Appaware mounts to, if you want to automate your cloning processes, which you are going to discuss in detail in the next slide. And coming to the table data, right? So to get the table data back to the production, so the data has been deleted and the user has been complained about the data. So now the DBA has been a jeopardy because the table is pointing to a table space, and which is unfortunately the size of the table space is 1 terabyte. Just I'm giving an example, or maybe a 500 GB, right? It is not so simple to recover the table, right? You have to get the table space back up and create some test environment, and restore it, recovery it, and you have to do a lot of skippings and all, because only you are bringing up the database with single table space. Then after long hours, you take an export of the table from the test environment and copy onto the production, right? When you are going with Actifio, you can just quickly perform an Appaware mount. As I mentioned here, for example, the user has been user compliant today, April 25th, maybe 8 p.m., right? User has compliant at this time, and he deleted the data at around some 4 p.m. You can select a previous day image copy and do a roll forward till this time using an Appaware mount, and within 15-20 minutes, your table is ready, right? So you can just take an export and import the table back.
Thank you for joining us for another YouTube Tech Tip video. If you like the content you're seeing on this channel, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you will be alerted to any future content.